Minnesota Twins spring training broadcast coming your way. Ingstead, Minnesota Radio Network. Cory Provus, our guest, play-by-play broadcaster for the Minnesota Twins. How many years now?
7.
Wow, seven years. Okay. New pitching coach this year for the Twins, Garvin Alston. Been with Arizona, Oakland quite a bit, San Diego. What can you tell us about him and what impact he will have on our pitching staff and the team?
He believes that the Twins will take a giant step forward in strikeouts, and they need that, Jim. They need strikeouts from their starters and from their bullpen. For too long, the Twins have been near the bottom in baseball and certainly the American League in getting strikeouts from their starters. So how they go about doing that, well, that's Garvin's job to find out a way. But he's confident that there will be some more swing and miss arms on this roster. And he's somebody that came highly recommended by LaTroy Hawkins. He was certainly in his corner when this job came open to give Garvin a look, and he interviewed very well, impressed Derek Falvey, and Derek's very, very involved with the pitching. That's his background. He's more than just the chief baseball officer of the team. He's still heavily involved in pitching and building a group that studies pitching and different numbers and metrics. And so I think Garvin just interviewed really, really well, had the right people in his corner, and so far so good down here.
You've seen a lot of the games so far, and I'm going to ask you how the Twins have been looking. Part of the reason I asked that is a few years ago, I can tell you honestly, the Twins didn't look very good in spring training. They had so many loose ends, especially in pitching. But how have they been looking so far?
Of my 7 camps with this team, this is the quietest camp that I can think of regarding roster spots. In the first segment, we went over some spots in the rotation, maybe a bullpen spot to be had, but I can recall past conversations we've had where we're looking at maybe 3 starters and 3 bullpen spots, 2 bench spots, and maybe the backup catcher. There isn't that same kind of drama with this team in camp this year. I think it's a good thing. You're coming off a really good year, a playoff year. You bring back a lot of the same guys. So to me, camp is just kind of going along, and we're going to catch up with Paul Molitor. We're having a full broadcast next Wednesday, full pregame show, full postgame show, and we'll get to sit down with the manager and kind of get his perspective on camp so far. I think it's a good time to do that, to kind of see who's where and the spots that are open right now, who's kind of leading the way as we kind of begin to think about shutting this place down here just a couple weeks away from opening day.
Certainly conversation about Brian Dozier, his contract. Looks like nothing's going to happen right now. Will there be an extension? We don't know for sure. That'll probably play out as the season goes. But what about extensions for some of the young guys? We got a lot of people that are going to be arbitration eligible in a little while. What are you hearing about that? Because there are several of them.
I'm sure it's attractive. I'm sure that it's a common trend in the game. And certainly if you're a mid to small market team, that's a popular path to go down. I would imagine those conversations are taking place with Buxton, with certainly Kepler and maybe even Jose Barrios. I think Eddie Rosario is going to be arbitration eligible for the first time next year. I think Sano is still a year away from that. I'd imagine that those conversations are being discussed, and I'm glad that I'm not involved with that, because it's not easy. How do you pick between this guy and that guy? Because we're all around the same age, and service time may be a little different for some, but they're all in their early to mid-20s, which is kind of a good problem to have. They're going to get expensive later, but for the now, they're relatively cheap when you look at the baseball finances.
Cory, last year I asked a question. You gave me a very professional answer. It was good. I asked you about, 2016 couldn't have been nearly as much fun as a broadcaster because of the 103 losses. But now I'm going to ask you again. Last year had to be a lot more fun. Playoff team, after the 2016 challenged year the Twins had.
Oh, it certainly was more fun. It was paramount that they got off to a good start, and they did, because that kind of sunk the ship on 2016 when you're 0-9 or whatever it was. The season was over, and you still had 3 games left, and the season was over after 9 games. They got off to a great start last year, and it was great for the fans to see competitive and relevant baseball again in September. And Target Field was alive, and there were Twins fans on the road, Jim, as we kind of travel in the Central and other parts and see the Twins fans come back out. And, if you ask Dave St. Peter this question, he'll be honest with you that the Twins brand got hurt. And it understandably so, with the lack of winning and all the 90-plus lost seasons and 103 lost seasons that the team has had in recent years. But to see this group kind of come together, this young offensive core primarily, and you can throw in Barrios' name in there, and now some young bullpen arms, I think are part of that as well. But these guys won together in the minor leagues. These are Florida State League champions. These are Southern League champions. These are, International League champions. These guys have rings already, winning at various minor league levels. So they've done it before, and now they're kind of working together at the big league level at the same time. And that's the dream. If you're building a farm system that you want to have talent that plays well, that wins together, and can kind of come up at the same time and carry that into their big league careers. And hopefully we're seeing just the start of that.
Tradition down below can carry up above. That'd be great. When we first talked 7 years ago, we were at JetBlue Park outside by one of the Hall of Fame numbers, and that's the last time I asked you to talk about your background coming up, growing up, and your broadcast career. I think for our listeners, it's fun to hear that as well. So give us a little background, your bio, so to speak.
Well, I'll try to be concise because I've been really fortunate, Jim, in my career where I've been and how I started. But I'm a Chicago kid. I grew up a Cub fan, and I loved Cubs games on WGN radio and Harry Carey. And then when I got older, I got a chance to listen to Pat Hughes. And then later, I got a chance to work with him. And I wouldn't be here without Pat. But I went to school out east at Syracuse, and then I left there. And then I lived in the South for 7 years doing college baseball, football, basketball, you name it, to get work. I lived in North Carolina, Virginia, Alabama, and then I got the break of my life was in 2007 with the Cubs and WGN, and working on their pre- and post-game show and doing like one-inning play-by-play with Ron Santo every day, the fifth inning, and that signal gave me a lot of notoriety because when the job came open in Milwaukee, there was an opening to work alongside Bob Uecker, and that was 2009, and then I was so grateful to get that chance and learning from Bob and doing 3 innings, but sharing the booth and laughing and learning with Uecker every day was a blast. And then this job came open after John's retirement, and the Brewers were in the playoffs in 2011, and they lost on a Sunday in the NLCS in Game 6 to the Cardinals, and the next day I'm talking with Andy Price, who hired me with the Twins, and a guy that I'll always think of fondly and be so grateful that he gave me this chance. That next day, I began chatting about the Twins job, and then within about 2 weeks, I got the offer, and in this stage of my career, my life began.
I know the Twins listened to a lot of air checks of broadcasters over that season, knowing John was going to retire, and they were very excited about bringing you in. Last thing before we wrap up this segment in our broadcast from Fort Myers and spring training. Any changes this year within the Twins radio broadcast? We know Chris and you and Danny are back, but anything new with format or things we can look for?
You know, it's funny. We're going to try something at least maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the year. We're going to try to not just broadcast from the booth. We may kind of move out a little bit of Target Field and try some remote broadcasts from time to time. As we tape here today, we're going to do something pretty cool for this spring training broadcast. We're going to mic Brian Dozier live. He's in the lineup today, hitting leadoff and batting second. So the game's on TV and radio today throughout the network, and Dozier's going to be mic'd up for his at-bats, and also while he's playing defensively second base. And we're taking a chance, and this is the time of year to do that. Spring training's about that, and we're going to see how it goes. We couldn't do this in the regular season, but we just might try a few different things as we kind of play out the 2018 broadcast calendar. And you know, I'm on board with that. Danny's on board, Chris, and our engineer Kyle Hammer, and we're open to ideas and possibilities, and we'll see how it goes.
Didn't you have Dan down on the field, out along dugout or something last year?
He was the ball boy last year on, it might have been July 4th, as I think about it, down the left field line. He was a cooker, too. It was a really hot day. We're like, great. This is great. We wanted to be really warm, but he got no action. He got no foul balls. We're like, come on, the one day, because that corner seemed to get peppered.
He had his glove on?
Oh, he had his glove. Yeah. He had his helmet on. He looked like a member of the ground crew, because those are the ball boys are ground crew guys, and they wear a golf shirt and shorts, and so there was Danny. He had a headset on, and we had a blast.
Well, it should be fun. Look forward to that. Cory, thanks for the good work you guys do. We appreciate it throughout the Twins radio network, because baseball is it's a radio sport, no question about it. It's fit for it. You do a great job telling us what's going on, but also painting that picture that we see through the descriptions that you use, and we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Jim, always great to see you and Connie down here, and you buy Ida a beer today, okay?
I'll do that. We're on our way. Thanks so much. Cory Provus, Twins radio broadcaster. We're here down in Fort Myers, along with Jim Bartles and Ida, our video person.